1985, 20 years. Yeah, and so I'll just introduce the panel. What's going on down there? Everyone kind of, first of all, okay, first of all, we have a rare appearance by Caroline Williams, who plays Stretch.
Great tits, huh? She said
it's great to be home.
Don't let her fool you. She's from Houston.
We have the man who created such a memorable character that he's been known for it ever since. Probably a mixed blessing, but we love him as Chop Top, Bill Moseley. We have the man who brought a new dimension to Leatherface, Bill Johnson. We have a Texas legend who is known not only for this, but for his writing, for his acting in many other films, and but especially for tonight as LG, Lou Perryman. And we have America's leading master of special effects who did amazing things on this movie, Mr. Pittsburgh's own Tom Savini. So I have to start out by saying that I also have a connection to this film. I was sent down to Austin by Rolling Stone magazine to write an article primarily on Dennis Hopper, who is also in this film but couldn't be with us tonight. What happened to Dennis? Where's Dennis?
He's playing generals.
So when I got down to Austin, the screenwriter, Kit Carson of Dallas, and the director, Toby Hooper of Austin, said, why don't you be in the film? We'll write you a little role. And so they wrote a little role, and I did a couple of scenes. Actually, I wrote it. Kit was too lazy to write it, but I wrote it. And we did a couple of scenes, and a couple of weeks before the movie came out, they were taken out by the evil Canon Films. And Toby called me practically in tears. I'm sorry we had to lose your scenes, but I understand they're back in the DVD as an extra.
But weren't you chainsawed? I mean, weren't you?
Yeah, I was chainsawed. I was completely destroyed by.
Can we hear that line again? SAWFOO.
Safu?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was saw food. But I remember it being a very interesting set because you had Kit Carson, the screenwriter of Paris, Texas, probably the artiest Texas movie ever made, who was sort of like going around, he was on the set the whole time, and he was like espousing these theories of how he was doing a version of The Breakfast Club. And, you know, the horror version of The Breakfast Club. And no one ever understood what the hell he was talking about. It's like, I don't see any resemblances to The Breakfast Club in this script, Kit. But he kept talking about that. And then Toby was kind of in a bad mood. I'm going to say this because I'm going to say a few things that the actors probably won't want to say. But Toby was in a bad mood most of the time because he had not wanted to do a sequel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre and had resisted it for years, but Canon Films gave him the opportunity to make two other films that he did want to make, Life Force and Invaders from Mars, if he would agree to make the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And so then when Kit Carson agreed to write it, he decided he would go ahead and do it. But he felt a little pressured to come up with a good movie that he felt like he didn't have enough time and he didn't have enough money and they weren't giving him enough of the sets that he wanted, and he was not always in a good mood. You guys may not have seen all this that I saw, but and so there were some tensions. Also, Dennis Hopper was there because he had recently. How can we say this? His body was clean for the first time in many years, and many people don't realize that he had not been able to work for quite a few years. He had a reputation for being difficult because of various, substance abuse problems. But he was like clean, and he said, and his agent was trying to get him like back into like huge movies. And he said, I'm going to make this movie, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And his agent said, that would be the death of your career. Don't go anywhere near that movie. And they said, why do you want to do that? And he says, well, because they're making it in Austin, and Willie Nelson is a friend of mine, and I like to play golf. And it's and that's basically why he went down there to make the movie. And they said, please don't make this movie. And he says, I'm going to make this movie. And so he went down, and I thought he was very creditable in his role, even though his role it seems to be like it's going to be a big part of the movie, and then it kind of disappears, and then he comes back later in the movie. But I thought Dennis Hopper was a fine version of Dennis Hopper in this movie. And so you had all these like different personalities going on. And one thing I remember, I'll start with you, Caroline, because I remember I was on the set for several days, and I remember especially your intensity. You were very much into this, and you were very, very concentrated, and you were very, I'm sure you are that way in all of your roles, but I felt like you had really invested a lot of yourself in this. How did you feel about it?
Well, Bill, don't make me laugh anymore. Number one, I'd been doing like television commercials and industrials in Houston for 2 years, and it did represent a big opportunity to be in what was considered then a major studio film. They did a heavy-duty casting call in LA, and I just knew it would be a ticket to ride and progress.
Can you tell us about the audition you did, the awesome fucking audition you did?
Can everybody hear that?
It was an awesome fucking audition, and I'm not kidding. We show up. I got the part. We show up at the office building where they're having the auditions. They've seen every major actress in LA, some big names. The scene calls for me to do the ice bucket scene, basically, the ice house scene. And what I did is I walked to the end of the hallway. The audition room was at the opposite end of the hallway, and it was a long hallway. I went all the way down to the opposite end. I ran screaming down the hallway to the audition room. I pulled open the door. I pulled them out of their seats. I took their chairs and I piled the chairs up against the door. And I played the scene. Because I'd heard all the other women going in, and they were you could hear them going, oh, please don't hurt me, Mr. Man. Oh, it's such a big saw. And somehow I knew that wasn't going to work in this film. I knew it was going to be physical, it was going to be a very physical role, and it was going to be a very intense role because it called for a lot of intensity and a lot of being very self-serious. And plus, I was almost in every single scene in the movie. And you got to have a lot of energy to keep that momentum, and playing with all the different players, playing with Tom's makeup, the dead bodies. He had dead bodies all over the fucking place, man. He had a laboratory going. There are body parts everywhere. He had a dictionary. It's called the Dictionary of Forensic Pathology, which shows police photos of murder victims in every permutation of homicide you can imagine. That was their guide. There was a guy who had died shoving a rocket up his ass. And this was not a small rocket. We're thinking, you know, this is Cape Kennedy stuff. This is space shuttle shit. And he was in his 70s. It was the first thing you showed me. People with road abrasions and
Everybody had to see that to be on the film.
it's like, to be on the film, you had to accept this whole concept. So,
It's hardening. Yeah, he flipped the pages as I was immobilized.
That was photo 511.
photo 511.
Can everyone hear? Would you guys shut that door at the back? We're getting a lot of ambient noise from out there.
So
And
anyway, it was
pass
such
the
a,
microphone if you're going to.
it was such a crazy atmosphere. Every sensation was heightened every single day. I woke up awake. I went to bed dead. And that's the way it was every single day of production. Anyone?
Okay, what about you, Bill? Like you were also very intense. Other Bill.
Other Bill.
Yeah.
Johnson and Moseley.
Bill Moseley. You were also very intense, and you seem to carry a special quality in the way you did Chop Top. How did you get to that?
That's fear. Fear and tequila.
We shaved your head.
Yeah, they shaved my head. They fucked me up, and I was, as Kit Carson said, Bill, as we know him, was gone for 8 weeks. The thing I was most proud of was that I think it was because I was smoking cigarettes. I think that's what kept me not from getting the walking pneumonia like everybody else. Smoked a lot of cigarettes, drank tequila, it killed all the germs. And because everybody else was, was sick, they were having, horrible, wretched pneumonias. We were shooting at the Austin Statesman building, and everybody was getting sick from printer's ink and dust, and we were using some real skeletons from India where life is cheap. And there was like bone dust and horrible shit, and people were getting like deathly ill. And but I just sailed through because I was, smoking cigarettes and drinking tequila.
Well, let me ask you this, Bill, because I noticed, like, when you go to these conventions, like, there's Chop Top fans everywhere, and they go and they like do impressions of Chop Top, and they're like, they're so into Chop Top. And I was under the impression when the movie first came out, I would say that the critical and box office reception was lukewarm. It was not, it was not an enormous success, the movie, even though it had the title and it had everything. But as the years have gone by, it seems like the movie just becomes more and more and more of a cult item, and probably is known by more people today than it was even 5 years after its release. When everyone had plenty of chances to see it. And
Something about Blade Runner.
Yeah, how do you ascribe
Or Abraham Lincoln.
What do you think what was going on there?
You mean like how did Chop Top grow on America?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Because he said things like, lick my plate.
I think lick my plate, you dog dick, and there's some use a California term. I think Chop Top kind of resonated with some of the fans. Dog will hunt like death eating a cracker. Get that bitch, Leatherface. I mean, I think that music is my life. I think there was just something that just kind of, had the ring of truth to it, I think. I don't know. It's just my speculation. I have no idea. But I thought that Chainsaw 2 was actually #1 the week it opened. It was #1 at the box office.
Yeah, well, a lot of movies are #1 the week they open.
Oh, yeah. We're #1. Sawyers are #1. Or maybe like the day it opened or something like that.
All right, let me ask
Saying quickly.
Bill Johnson. You had another kind of challenge because you have you're following an established Leatherface.
Yeah.
And there's not that much you can do with the Leatherface getup. So how did you approach your role?
Well, I took the course of love. Gunnar was, he was a dark poem. He was savage and scary. But now it was time to turn tables and love boat. Excellent. Right, so it's a softer side, power of love. Because I couldn't, there was no upside to trying to outdo Gunnar, because Gunnar's the man when doing Gunnar stuff, so that Leatherface wasn't in this movie at all. Because Caroline would have been dog meat. Right away. But rather than, you know, a tasty treat to save for later.
Was it physically demanding?
It was very demanding. The heat was, I don't know, average of, I don't know, 110 that year or something. It was just tremendously hot. And in all the underground scenes was in a huge corrugated iron building without insulation, so it was like, you know, cool hand look in the box. So we were in the box all the time. It was about 125 degrees in there. They'd crank in a rented 40-ton air conditioner, and they just, and this giant hose had come in from one of the openings and try to cool us down. And I was in a full suit and a mask and a wig and gloves. There was just no way to respire and breathe, so.
And didn't you have an extended chainsaw fight? With,
Leatherface had an extended chainsaw fight.
Yes.
But as in those movies you've seen, cut! Bring in the stunt double. All right, and action! Bob Elmore, who gave many years off the back end of his life, did the majority of the stunts in that film, and they wore him to a frazzle. He was a big hulking draft horse of a guy, a wonderful person, who I was amazed that he lived through that. So he's...
They were actually firing him up and letting him spark, right?
Oh, yeah.
Chainsaws? Yeah.
They tied him to the back of the truck and yanked him along, and he chased Caroline for miles and miles. So it was just astounding. I would look at him turn gray and ashen at the end of the day and just be, you know, really thankful that I wasn't doing that. Because it would have taken twice as long to shoot the film, because it would have taken recovery time to be able to, you know, then go do some close-ups. Yeah. So they had to work, plus they had that deadline that was part of why Toby was kind of uptight, because Cannon was breathing on his neck saying, hurry up! Yeah. Get it done! Bringing in people and ripping pages out of the script. Now you're on schedule!
Okay. Let me ask you, Tom, what were your... You had probably as much to do with the look of the film as anybody. What were your conversations with Toby like about how did you want to make this different than the first one?
Well, Grandpa, first of all, was an elaborate, you know, old age makeup, and but you know, there was I don't remember having long conversations with Toby. It was like you show up, he loved it, the action, we did it, and you know, that was it. Lou, we put his skin makeup on, he'd walk down the street skinned alive, you know, freaking out people driving by in their cars. Yeah, Dennis Hopper, Toby would call action, and Dennis Hopper would spin as fast as he could in the room, and then when he stopped, he would do the scene, but he had this dizzy look in his eyes from spinning so fast. If you see the movie, every time you see Toby, he's been spinning before he talks, you know, so these are my memories of it. And Toby, you know, I was reading in the book about Toby, he just drank Dr. Pepper and smoked cigars all day, and, you know, and that was his way of communication. Here's a box of cigars, you know, and I gave him a Leatherface mask, you know, and took it to Japan. What else? And Grandpa would go sit in a diner, you know, and have, in his makeup, you know, and eat lunch, you know, with the tin cup standing outside. But Toby, you know, there was... I don't remember, again, I say it again, I don't remember having long conversations with him. We would just show up, he would like it, and we would start doing it. We had to beg him to do a close-up of Grandpa's eyes, because we loved Grandpa's eyes. He was wearing these lenses, you know, so he did that. But
Slurpy booty scene?
Huh? Yeah. But didn't he have like a week to prepare the movie? Since after Invaders, he had like a week to prepare Texas Chainsaw.
He was still post-producing Invaders, I thought, when he was starting, when he had fired up. I mean, there was actually an overlap, I thought.
Yeah. Between Invaders from, he was still at it.
Yeah, my memory of being around that set was that Toby would come out of his trailer, yell action, yell cut, and go back in his trailer.
He was editing. Because he was editing Invaders in there,
Yeah,
wasn't
because
he?
he was doing something in his trailer, right. I guess he was editing his other movie. Okay. Let me ask you, Lou. Lou, you've probably been around more Texas movies than anybody here, right? You've been around a lot of Texas productions in various roles. And last night at the Alamo, which I consider possibly the best Texas movie ever made, maybe one of the best. It's not even available on DVD, so not everyone has seen it. But
Well, not only that, but if you've seen Poltergeist, Lou's the guy that peeks in the window and starts eating the food out of the pots.
yeah,
She caught him eating the food out of the pots in Poltergeist. Yeah.
That is true.
yeah.
With a Teamster shirt on, right? Did you have a
Teamster shirt on?
Yeah.
Yes, I was pretending to be a Teamster and go very slow.
So tell me, Lou, how do you have a pretty good perspective on how these things go. How does this come? What was your attitude with this cast of characters around you making this movie?
Well, it was pretty much a wonderful thing. Toby and Kit called me up and said, hey, man, we're going to skin you alive. And I said, great, when are we going to do it? It's better than what I'm doing. The build-up to it was, of course, waiting to be skinned, but the rest of it was just, it was different than Chainsaw 1. It was a lot of ease, there was Teamsters around, there was craft services, there was places to go eat, and there was overtime if you went over, it was a union shoot, whereas the first Chainsaw had been just such a raunchy, evil, stinking son of a bitch, man. It was hard. I was the assistant cameraman on the first one, and I had to ship the film off every night. And so I had to go, and they gave me the slips to put it on the bus and everything, but they didn't give me any cardboard boxes. So there was this one particular 7-Eleven that always had really good boxes in their dumpster. So, I thought, this is a really great profession where I have to jump in a dumpster every night and wade around in the garbage and looking for the boxes to mail a film off. So that's when I decided I'd be an actor. And by the time they came around to do this, sure, why not? Actually getting paid for it. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, and we should also mention, wasn't the late Jim Sedow, wasn't he the only returning actor from the first movie?
The late, great, may he rest
Ed
in
Neal
peace.
came back, but he was a dummy.
Ed Neal came back.
He was a
as
puppet, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. All right.
Yeah, the cook in the first movie, or the father. He came back in Chainsaw 2, and I should say this is the wisdom of Jim Sedow. Is like he was the only person that on the first movie, when they said when they told all the actors they'd be working for a percentage of the movie, he said, "No, I'll take cash." And so so he was the only guy that just took his cash and went home. And of course, all the others had 30 years of heartache trying to collect their money for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1.
Yeah.
I guess you still technically get checks.
Oh, I do get a little bit of checks. They
one.
were kind enough to give me something like 1/4% of some little tributary company or something,
Yeah.
Previous to Enron, they had little subsidiary companies. So, but it was basically Vortex stock, so I get a little bit of money every once in a while.
Yeah. So, Caroline, are you recognized for this part?
I am now.
No, I mean
I am here.
on the street. On the street, does it happen?
My look has changed so often since I moved to LA and started doing more standard stuff. Well, Leprechaun 3, where I exploded. First, I had to turn into a duck. But trying to fuel the vagaries of series television, Not so often. I do remember once, my hair was very short. I was 9 months pregnant, 8 months pregnant. I'm walking through a casino in Las Vegas with my husband, and like 6, 12, and 13-year-old boys run up to me. Stretch, Stretch, is it you? I couldn't believe it. I was wearing men's underwear, you know, and a men's shirt, not underwear, you know, the boxer shorts with all the stripes and all the little things and stuff, because it was summer, it was hot. And I was stunned about that. I mean, the toughest thing for me was moving to LA, being told your movie was not a hit, you have to start all over again. And I had to start all over again.
So did you suffer the same fate as the people in Chainsaw 1, where the movie was a success? It was a huge success, but it was considered a resume killer. I never understood that.
Well,
it was like all the people associated with it couldn't get consideration for, you know, better parts, even though everybody in it is pretty damn good, you know. And so I didn't understand how that happened, whereas, you know, 25 years later, Blair Witch comes out, and it
happened again.
It's considered a career builder, at least first 2 years.
Well, you know what, though? The amazing thing is they've already had articles, you know, whatever happened to everyone associated with the Blair Witch Project. You know, the little girl that was the star of that has gone back home.
Yeah.
A couple of the other boys or kids that were in the film went back home. The only difference is I didn't go back home.
So was it to the extent that you actually took the title off of your acting resume?
No. It's always been there. I don't have footage from the film on my demo reel anymore, just because 20 years have passed, and I have to look the way I look now. And I thought it was, frankly, it represented such a high watermark for me because of the hard work that I did. I was working hard every day. I felt like the acting, the quality of the role on the page, in the script, as my fellow players know, the quality of the writing in the script was profoundly different than the product that showed up on the screen. And
well, isn't that partly because there were like many pages that were just thrown out?
They were thrown out, but the problem is it was the subtext of the story, which was that Stretch was actually the daughter of Lefty Enright. That was part of the subtext of the whole film. It was about family, being abandoned by family, losing family, finding family.
Yeah.
And the film doesn't have an emotional core to it when it jumps from splatter and bone to splatter and bone. And I think that's what makes good horror movies today count. There might be a love story in back of it. You know, somebody trying to rescue someone else. Naturally fighting against the forces of evil, like in Devil's Rejects. Of course, evil wins.
Right.
So in that respect, it was more of a it was certainly more of a resume killer because audiences didn't get to see all of the other stuff that could have happened in that movie.
Yeah, I know Kit Carson was not happy with what had been done to the script, and I don't think Tobe Hooper was that happy with what Cannon had done in the editing process.
Well, and the thing is, they tried to leave hints, they tried to leave little clues that the audience would be able to follow, so they would have that understanding of the film, and they were out of context, and it just, ultimately it didn't work. And then Cannon, of course, cut Toby's cut of the film. And that's what wrecked the whole thing. It'd be brilliant if Tobe could recover that footage, a lot of that lost footage, and have a director's cut of the film. So you can see all the stuff that was once in there.
Well, I would think someone would be interested in doing that. That seems like something that would be fairly lucrative for somebody.
You can get it on bootleg.
Oh, you can?
The bootleg version with all those scenes back in, the parking garage, you're
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
Wow.
Let me ask Bill Moseley. Did you feel like you got pigeonholed as a genre actor in your subsequent, you know?
Well, in my in my quest to play Hamlet on Broadway, yes, I think it was definitely it was a fucking detour. But actually, you know, I love horror movies, and you know, I remember one time, I don't know, I was grousing about something, and And I said, yeah, I don't know, I don't want to get pigeonholed. And I was telling it was my friend James Remar from the Warriors. And I said, yeah, I don't know if I want to get pigeonholed. He looked at me and said, you know, you'd be lucky to be pigeonholed. Which I thought, fuck you, pal. But I love horror movies, so I think it's pigeonholed, bad hold, well, I don't know about cornhole, but I don't mind it. I mean, it's but I've been able to do stuff like play a child abusing father in ER, and I played some creep in The Practice and got shot in the head for it. Johnny in Night of the Living Dead, the color version. Possum the Cook on Carnival. Is that pigeonholed? Yeah. If I am pigeonholed as a psycho or as a monster, robot, all that shit, that's great with me. I'm very, very happy.
Because there's always work for psychos.
Yeah, that's right. I'm really happy about it, and I think that's why I was so excited about meeting Rob Zombie and him putting me in House of a Thousand Corpses, and then that leading to Devil's Rejects. I just been having a ball, because I don't know. That's what I do. It's who I am. It's what I do.
And what about? What? Are you going to do questions? Yeah, just a minute. And what about you, Bill Johnson? When you followed the your subsequent career, was it
Yes.
was it influenced greatly by this?
No, I stayed in Austin.
Yeah.
I stayed in Austin, and I decided to just sort of stay at home. Yeah, I did bartend for a while, and I got married. And then, yes, public service is my life. So I was staying in Austin. I got married, and my wife had a really great job at the University of Texas, and going out to L.A. and New York was no longer an option. So I was facilitating acting classes at the local theater there, and doing voice work as it would come through town, and riding the circuit through Texas, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, till you wear a car out, and then you just give that up.
DOA too.
Right, and films come to Texas like DOA and Full Moon and Blue Water, the Oliver Stone film. I'm spacing out the name right now.
JFK?
Born on the 4th of July.
Born on the 4th of July?
No, it was one with Eric Bogosian. Talk Radio. Yeah, thank you. Talk Radio. Talk Radio. Yeah. So, small parts like that. So I was, in doing mostly live theater. So I was doing a lot of that. So, thank you.
It's okay to applaud for live theater. That's all right. You can identify yourself. All right, does anybody have any questions for the panel? Yes, right here on the front.
Yeah, Mr. Moseley. I got to watch the documentary.
Yeah.
And you seem hypersensitive towards the gore and violence. I'm just curious. Chainsaw 2 is much below your film being more low.
Well, I've matured.
Can everyone hear the question?
What is the question?
Repeat the question, Bill.
Am I?
How did you get through the zombie films? You seem a little sensitive to the violence.
Well, I love violence and gore and splatter and all that stuff. So I wasn't really sensitive to that. It was putting the pistol into Priscilla Barnes' nether regions that was a little, it made me a little squeamish.
Put a chainsaw in her nether region.
Well, I know. It's like.
It never touched my nethers.
So that was, that scene in particular was, the rest of it, I enjoyed, beating people's heads into jelly with a stick and everything like that, and stabbing them in the leg and shooting them in the neck.
But he says you were sensitive.
Well, I wasn't really to that. I mean, no, that scene with Priscilla was pretty heavy. I mean, you know, because that, you know, in that movie you had to make it look casual because Otis was a little bored. But yeah.
It was cold, it was hard, it was long, and it had teeth.
That's a good answer. That's the best answer.
We know what we like.
Anybody else?
That's it. Oh, well, thanks for coming.
Oh, way over here.
Knowles.
What's your favorite classic rock song, Stretch?
My favorite classic rock song, oh God. Oh, you're going to hate this. What I Like About You by the Romantics. Sorry. I used to pogo and jump up and down, you know, and smoke pot to that song. What I like about you.
Let me ask a question to the audience. How many like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3? What was that, about 10% of the audience? About 10%? It's like, I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 is like as much as anybody can be embarrassed to be in any movie, I think if you were in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, that's grounds for embarrassment. No? You're defending Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3? I think this is much better. Then what about the Fry House?
I want to know the story about the Fry House.
Okay, LG has a story about the Fry House.
Fry House, darling? Come on, Lou.
Tell the Fry House story.
I remember a fry house, but I didn't build the damn thing.
That Fry House. I thought that was your idea or something.
Damn, no, I don't think it was. No, they pretty much built that thing for me.
Well, he said, "Hi, darling, I built you a little fry house."
Yeah, you know, I mean, they built it where I could add a couple of French fries, and I was munching the house, you know, a little bit. I mean, I was chawing down on a French fry. They were good fries. You know, there wasn't anything else to do, sitting around, so, but...
And that scene has Eagle Cannell in it. He's one of the guys in the chili cook-off, you know, when they announced the champion.
Jesus, was he? Well, Eagle's the guy that directed the Last Night at the Alamo film, which is not about the Alamo. It's about a bar that looked like the Alamo, actually. But the fate of the Alamo, we were all destroyed. You know, it got torn down. But Eagle now, our dead drunk friend, or drunk dead friend Eagle, he's no longer with us. But he was a good filmmaker in a raw kind of a way. And I'm sorry we didn't get to finish the work that we were doing together, because we were talking about people that we knew. We weren't doing particularly horror movies, but he enjoyed horror movies too.
There's another girl.
Like that.
Thank you.
Our future governor, Kinky Freeman, is in the credits. Where is he in film, or did that get cut?
Kinky Friedman is in the credits. What did he do in the film?
Well, I used to listen to Get Your Biscuits in the Oven and Your Buns into Bed, but
I don't
Nobody
remember
knows?
Kinky.
Nobody remembers seeing Kinky on the set?
I don't know.
It's a mystery. Put it on the net and we'll know in 48 hours.
but do vote for Kinky.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I got to ask, Dennis Hopper I was a big fan of Dennis's, and I had heard a story, and I got to hang with Dennis a little bit, and I'd heard the story that James Dean died before they could dub the big giant scene in Giant, where he makes the drunken speech in the hotel down the Shamrock. And I'd heard that Dennis mimicked Dean's voice and dubbed it for him. And so I told him this story, and I said, so this is what I've heard. And Dennis said, that's pretty good, but not quite right. He said, it wasn't me, it was Nick Adams. Remember Johnny Reb? He was in Rebel Without a Cause. Yeah, he was one of the hoodlums. And he evidently dubbed Dean's voice. Really? Too good. Movie trivia of the first order. Yeah, Dennis was a great guy, you know. He was a great guy.
All right, you guys have any more questions for these guys? Yeah, here's one. Tell us about your...
Here's my bill.
There's also somebody with a question.
Yeah, I made him myself. He's for sale, $100. All you got to do is sell one. He's got a little wine mark on his face. Got a little plate up here.
It's Charlie McCarthy.
It's a weird little yeah.
He's so well dressed, Bill. He looks like
yeah.
he's going like...
And his mouth doesn't open because I taped it with duct tape because if it opens, his jaw will fall out.
There's a question right there.
Yeah.
Hi.
He's drunk.
Favorite movie that you did the effects on?
Oh, we're here for Texas Chainsaw Massacre too, but I mean that was fun. That was fun. Is he jacking me off back here? Hello. That was fun. I'll tell you what. Let him do the talking. You just let him do the talking. Brokeback Mountain. John Wayne is rolling in his grave. Just a side comment. No, Dave.
Oh, no.
Else have something to sell up here? It's working. You can sell stuff up here. Now, well, who can top that?
Just make sure that dummy has a good home.
I think it does, yeah. Yeah. Well, to answer your question, Day of the Dead, okay? Thanks.
Okay, we're running out of time, but like we can maybe do one more. Here, way over here.
There was a internet teaser for a while where we were going to have a sequel in which Charlie would find out what happened to Chop Top. Is there any hope of ever seeing that?
About a sequel?
You mean the All-American Massacre? That was done by William Hooper, Toby's son, and I don't know if we'll ever see it. I wish we would, because yeah, Chop Top's in it. It's 10 years later. Chop Top's, it's so cool because part of the makeup is my plate's a lot more exposed, because 10 years of, you know, picking and licking. It's really actually very awesome. I was really had a great time doing it, and so I guess you just gotta keep you know, keep the faith, and maybe someday it'll come out. But
Are you surviving the big drop into the thing?
oh man, you know, money's thicker than blood.
That is what happened to you.
Yeah, but I'm actually called in that I'm called Bloody Bobby, so I'm not, you know, specifically Chop Top, although, you know, hey, I am Chop Top. But anyway, but you know, it's somewhere in some can somewhere, something in some state of disrepair maybe, but it's really cool. I really had a good time doing it, so we'll see.
Okay, guys, let's have a hand for the panel showing up.